guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula 1. So the Belgian Grand Prix has come to a close, and what could be said for the weekend overall? It was okay again, wasn't it? It's nothing special. We had some good battles here and there. You know, the sprint got quite lively at the start. The main race itself, there was good battles between Albon and Gasly. Max making his way through, but was that really exciting? No, because we expected it anyway. So, all in all, it was just a bit meh once again this season, wasn't it? Which is a shame to say. The first half of the season, apart from the Austria sprint, it's been a bit lacklustre, hasn't it? So if you've never seen this series before, I award the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Take a look out for bonus points though. They're sometimes enough for some drivers to do something extra special during a race, and on the very rare occasion I do award minus points to those drivers that do something extra special, but for all the wrong reasons. So we'll take a look at the current Crawl Room standings going into this episode. Then it's on the screen now for you to take a look at. See where your favourite driver is, and can you expect them to go up or down or stay roughly where they are after my scores this weekend. Thanks as always go out to Dan of Dan Bartlett for providing me with the scoreboard as always. What an absolute legend he is. So let's kick things off with the race winner then. It is Max Verstappen, and yes, I'm calling him that again because he was very, very whingy down the radio this weekend, wasn't he? That's really the only thing to take away from the weekend. He was moaning in Q2 that he'd only just got through and it was the poor shit execution of the team, and then Gianpiero Lambiase was like, yeah, no problem mate, if you want to do your run plan for Q3, I'm more than happy to let you do it. And then all of a sudden he shut the fuck up and he got pole position, which obviously netted him 6th place because of a gearbox penalty. But then he was like, oh, I'm so thankful to you all. Thanks so much. You're such legends. I'm really sorry about the chat earlier. And then what did he do? He went and started moaning in the fucking race again, didn't he? It was just so frustrating. He's got a clear leg in the championship. The championship's already his. He just keeps winning everything. And, you know, he's getting maximum points every weekend. He's got nothing else better to do but to still moan at his team. Like, you know, mistakes are going to happen during a season. You know, if you got knocked out in Q2, shit happens, doesn't it? You know, like, shut the fuck up moaning. It's just, he'd still go on to win anyway. I mean, he's won from lower positions than, you know, 6th where he ended up starting this weekend. And, of course, if he'd been knocked out in Q2, I think he started 14th one weekend, didn't he? Back in 2022 and still ended up winning the race. So, yeah. Max Verstappen this weekend, once again, you can't deny the fact that he did come through the field quite nicely, overtook his teammate by lap 17 and led the race, and over 20 seconds win in the end over his teammate. So you can't deny that the talent is there, but once again it's this moaning. So I've knocked him 3 points off, you know, from a perfect 10, which you still can't fault. You know, he won the race, he won the sprint race, he got pole position, started 6th, climbed his way through the field really quickly. That'd be a perfect 10 in my eyes, but I'm knocking 3 points off for the moaning once again, so he's going to get 7. And I think that's generous at that, but yeah, he's getting 7 points. And if he carries on moaning, do you know what, if he moans again at Monza, and this is his warning to him, I'm just going to give him minus points. And it's as simple as that. Stop moaning. You're in a privileged position with that car. You know, I know your abilities and talents are clearly, you know, amazing as well. But you're in a privileged position and you work as a team. You know, you win as a team and you lose as a team. Don't be fucking moaning like a bloody child. So yeah, 7 points to Max. He's very lucky. And any more moaning this season, it's just going to be instant minus points. So there you go. That's my review for that one anyway. Finishing in 2nd place, it is Checo, Sergio Perez. A much improved weekend by him, despite the fact he is now disqualified on the Crawl Room. So he's clearly listened to me. I always say sometimes disqualified drivers book their ideas up once they've been disqualified. This weekend was no exception for Checo. Didn't finish the sprint race, unfortunately, due to contact with Hamilton. Was that right? And then in the race itself, he started 3rd, so obviously lined up 2nd, got into the lead and led until Max Verstappen just went breezing past him like he was in a different championship. And then 2nd's where he stayed. So, you know, Red Bull 1-2, you can't go any less than that. Unfortunate in the sprint, but he's disqualified anyway, so I can't score him any points. But it was a much improved weekend by Sergio Perez this weekend. And yeah, that's all there is to really say about him. Next up, and the final podium finisher is Sha-la-la! Oh, Sha-la-la! Oh, c'est magnifique, Sha-la-la! Oh, fantastic. It's so good to see him on the podium once again. This is his first podium since God knows when. Probably June 2014 at this moment in time. It feels like an eternity since Ferrari actually got their shit together and had a car that was able to match a Red Bull briefly over a single lap in qualifying, you know, splitting the Red Bulls in the main qualifying session and in the race, of course. He lost out to Sergio, he lost out to Max, and where's the best place he's finishing? Third. And where did he finish? Third. So fantastic effort for him. For Charles Leclerc, it's not really much that can be said about his race. He just drove a steady one, he drove a good one, kept himself out of trouble, didn't make any mistakes, you know, didn't get involved in anything. It was just a good drive. It was solid all weekend long. Can't really remember what happened to him in the sprint. Did he pick up a few points there as well? More than likely. I can't remember. But yeah, didn't get involved in nothing silly. Just kept himself tidy. Realistically realised that he wasn't racing the Red Bulls. Let them go. And secured third place. It's a fantastic effort. So congratulations, Sha-la-la, on a podium finish and 10 points on the Cruel Room to you. That is well deserving of a full perfect 10 from me. That was a stunning, stunning drive. So well done, Sha-la-la. Finishing just outside the podium places, it is Lewis Hamilton securing 4th place. This weekend has been a very good one for Lewis Hamilton, it must be said. Did get involved in the tangle with Sergio Perez. I think he crossed the sprint line in sprint race in 4th, didn't he? But tumbled to 7th as a result of the penalty that he received for that. And then in the main race itself, it was just clean and tidy, wasn't it? You know, a good qualifying, a good race. Again, wasn't a match for the Red Bulls, wasn't a match for the Ferrari, and just finished 4th. It was a good effort. It was a good effort. Yeah. It just good. I can't really say much more than that, to be honest. But yeah, I have awarded Lewis Hamilton 8.5. I think 8.5 is a fair score. The mistake and the little contact with Sergio in the sprint race cost him a few places there, which needs to knock a couple of points off for that maybe. But overall, the main bulk of the weekend, where the main points matter, he delivered what he could again with the car he's got, and was good to see him once again beating George. So there you go. He's really got a hold of George Russell now, and is he only a point or two behind Alonso for 3rd in the overall standings now as well, which seems like an eternity ago since Alonso was just picking up all them podiums, and we're like, yeah, Alonso, you know, he'll just be finishing 3rd in the championship, but now Hamilton's chomping at the bit with him, isn't it? So yeah, good to see him make good progress, and once again a solid weekend. Just a shame about the sprint, but I'm not holding that too much against him. But I think 8.5 is a fair score for Lewis Hamilton. Finishing in 5th place, it is Fernando Alonso. And yeah, an uncharacteristic error in the sprint race. So basically he was out in Q2 in the sprint format because his teammate fucking binned it. And obviously meant he was starting 15th, I think it was. And then in that race itself, made a silly error really early on and just spun and put himself in the gravel. Thankfully no damage to the car, but yeah, an uncharacteristic error there by Fernando Alonso. And in the main race itself, once again, did what he could with the car he had. The pit stop strategies helped him climb up the field because he was around the 7th, 8th area for quite a while. But the way that the Aston Martin team did the strategy ended up helping him massively get undercuts and overcuts. And the pace of him was solid. And yeah, it was a good weekend overall, wasn't it? It was a solid weekend once again, scoring good points in the main race, missing out in the sprint. I don't think he'd have got points anyway in the sprint, starting that low down with those weather conditions. But he did a good job. You know, you can't deny that. So for Fernando Alonso, I have awarded him a solid 7.5 this weekend. And that I think's fair, you know, knocking him a couple of points off there for the spin in the sprint. But for the race itself, once again, did a good job with the car he had, and we can't really blame him for anything else, can we? We can't say it's his fault that the car's not quite as good as it was at the start of the season, but got all the points once again. 7.5 to Fernando Alonso. Finishing in 6th place, it is George of the Russell. Where the hell's that top 5? Here he is, finishing just outside it once again with a 6th place finish. Looking back at this score now, I think it's generous. It's a generous score I have awarded him. Yeah, this weekend he just didn't have the pace of his teammate, did he? Let's be honest, he picked up 1 point in the sprint, didn't he? Finished 8th in that. His teammate was doing far better before his penalty. And then in the race itself, didn't have a match for his teammate in the qualifying, was down in 8th, was it? And then in the race itself, he's finishing 6th, a couple of places behind his teammate as well. So, yeah, George Russell this weekend, once again, not a great weekend. I think I said it last episode, but ever since the side pods have come onto that Mercedes, it seems to have really affected him more than Lewis. But that said, even earlier on this season, apart from Australia where his engine failed, Lewis has had the measure of him all season long. So, yeah, it's going to be a difficult one going into the summer break now. I think George just needs a bit of a factory reset and, you know, not trying to overdrive. You tend to see that with George, don't you? When he gets under pressure, he tends to overdrive the car a little bit. And I think he just wants to beat Lewis and it's not happening, so he's overdriving and he's under-delivering as a result of that as well. So, yeah, you know, Mercedes need to still focus on going forwards rather than beating each other, but I still think George is thinking, well, hang on, I beat Lewis in the first season, I need to beat him in the second, and it doesn't always work out like that. So, for George Russell, I've awarded him a generous 7. And I know that's generous, possibly by a point, maybe even 2 there. But yeah, I awarded him 7. I thought he was 1.5 less than Lewis, and that was a fair respective. But then again, I think it should have been a little bit less, to be honest. But nonetheless, a solid 7 to George Russell. Overall, a solid weekend, which is why it's a solid 7. But again, nothing special. Then we come to Lando Norris in the McLaren. Probably being generous with his score as well, actually, looking back. Oscar Piastri really had the measure of him this weekend. It must be said, Oscar was well up there, wasn't he? But as a result of what happened at turn 1, Oscar was out straight away and it was left down to Lando Norris to pick up the pieces. Recovering to 7th place was good after a poor start. I mean, that first lap, he was just going backwards, wasn't he? It was like he was in reverse because everyone was passing him. I think he was outside the points by about lap 4, lap 5, wasn't he? He was certainly on the fringes of it if he wasn't out of them, but he really tumbled down the order. But then as the fuel load wore off, the car got a little bit better and Norris was able to find his feet. The strategy worked in their favour as well. And yeah, here he is securing a good haul of points, 6 points. It's better than nothing. And yeah, it could have been more. I think realistically that McLaren were aiming for top 5 with both cars, but as it played out, it didn't happen like that at all, did it? For Lando Norris, I've awarded him a solid 7 this weekend, and yeah, I think again maybe generous by a point, to be honest, but you know, he did pick up the points for McLaren at the end of the day where it mattered. And you can't really say fairer than that, can you? I can't remember what he did in the sprint race. Did he have a good race there? He did, I think. I think he was 5th, wasn't he? But in the main race itself, he picked up some good points there as well. But Oscar Piastri is chomping at his heels now, isn't he? He is proving to everyone that he has already got it. He has got the skill and the talent to challenge at the front. It was a shame what happened to him. We'll come to Oscar in a minute, of course. But yeah, Lando Norris, I'd watch you back, mate, because Oscar's coming. 7 points to Lando Norris. Then we come to Esteban Ocon. Ooh, me Esteban. Yeah, Esteban Ocon this weekend. It was a tale of two fortunes, wasn't it, once again? He's here in 8th place, securing a good haul of points when Alpine were seemingly crumbling at the seams. We got rid of Laurent Rossi just a few days ago. Now Otmar Safnauer and Alan Permane have left the squad. Alan Permane being with the Enstone team in all its guises over the years for 34 years, and last weekend was his final weekend with that team. Otmar Safnauer as well, a heap of Formula 1 experience. They've lost 2 people there and no one to replace him. It seems like Alpine are really, really struggling, and I don't really know what's happening there. There must be... I mean, we thought Laurent Rossi was a bit of a dick. Well, I certainly did, but it turns out even when he's gone, there's other people leaving, so... something's not quite right there, is it? Esteban Ocon's race weekend overall was up and down, wasn't it? It must be said. He had a silly crash in... Was that in the main qualifying or the sprint qualifying? I can't even remember. Where he clipped his wing and damaged that, and then the team didn't have a wing ready, so that was a bit silly, wasn't it? Couldn't get a lap in and was out in Q2. Just can't remember what that race was in. But did he make good progress from? I can't remember, but here he is anyway, finishing in 8th place, scoring a few points. Recovered his weekend well after whatever happened. And yeah, I've awarded him 7 points. I think 7's fair for Esteban Ocon. It was up and down, wasn't it? And to be honest, this weekend has really proven to me how broken the Cruel Room system is when it comes to scoring people overall over a weekend. Because I don't like to count the sprint, but if you do something really wrong during a sprint weekend format, in that sprint qualifying or the sprint race, I do like to knock points off. So maybe a little bit of a rejig of thinking of format for next year, perhaps, especially when there's going to be more sprint races going about it. But I'll fill you in on more detail later on as we go on and let you know your thoughts on it. But yeah, for now it's going to be a solid 7 to Esty Bestie. Yeah, it's just a solid 7. I can't do anything more. He recovered the weekend well, scored a few points, but made a couple of errors here and there that it could have meant a better weekend overall. Finishing in 9th place, we come to Lance Stroll, finishing in 9th place, disqualified on the Cruel Room anyway. What could be said for his weekend? Well, he tried the medium tyres, didn't he, in the sprint qualifying. Didn't work out too well, and he shunted. So yeah, I mean, had Alonso done that, I don't think he'd have crashed, but then again, we're never going to know how he... I mean, the fact that Alonso went on Inters and then they were like, yeah, Lance, go on, go try mediums. I wouldn't have done that. I would not have done that at all, but there you go. They give Daddy's lad a chance, and Daddy's lad failed dramatically and ruined it for the pair of them. Yeah, picks up a couple of points, nowhere near his teammate once again, blah, 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 blah. Disqualified on the Cruel Room anyway, and that's enough said about that. Securing the final points-paying position, it is Yuki Tsunoda. Here he is, picking up 1 point. Could be crucial come the end of the season if they get another good points haul. You know, it's got to be you know, they're quite a way away. They're still 6 points behind. Haas, is it with 9 or is it Alpha? I can't remember who's 9th. But either way, you know, 1 point, and if they keep picking up these points, they'll soon chip away at the guys ahead of them. Yuki Tsunoda, a fantastic race weekend, once again under pressure. His teammate had his lap time deleted, so as a result started down in 19th place instead of getting through into Q2 quite comfortably. Daniel Ricciardo, with all that experience, I don't care if it's only his second race back, he should know what track limits are. Yuki Tsunoda did a perfect job, fantastic. In a weekend where last weekend we were going, oh, he's washed up, he's shit, and get rid of Yuki, he's crap. Look at him, he's been beaten already. And I said, context of the race, they were quite evenly matched. Here this weekend, he's just gone, there you go, fuck off, Danny Rick, I'm here to stay. And what a fantastic job by Yuki Tsunoda to secure a crucial point for that team. A fantastic drive. It was only 6th at one point. It was just flying. He gained like 5 places at the start or something daft. It was crazy. It was doing so well, but as it was, the overall pace of the car, especially down the Kemmel Straight, the tyre degradation meant he slipped down to 10th, but he held on to that point valiantly, and a point well deserved. So yes, Yuki Tsunoda, a perfect 10th in this weekend. Fantastic effort, fantastic race weekend. Shut them fucking critics up that were already whinging at you after Hungary when they refused to see the bigger picture and the true reason why you were behind Danny Rick that weekend. But yeah, a perfect 10 to Yuki this weekend. You were well ahead of him, weren't you, this time? So yeah, perfect 10 to Yuki Tsunoda. Just outside the points we come to Pierre Gasly, and as mentioned, you know, Esteban Ocon had difficulties in the sprint qualifying, I think it was, but then recovered well in the main race. Pierre Gasly had a fantastic race in the sprint race and in the sprint qualifying round and all that lot, and ended up securing himself 3rd in that one to score a good haul of points. But then here he is missing out on points in the main race. So it's yin and yang, isn't it, with both those Alpine drivers? It must be said, it's just difficult. And like I said, this is what's making me think now I need to try and perhaps reformat this series going into next year. But I'll let you know that. I'll let you know about that. We've got a summer break to come up, and I'll let you, you know, I can ask you thoughts and opinions on what I've got planned anyway. And you'll either love it or you'll hate it. But I think it'd be quite an interesting way of reformatting. But as mentioned anyway, Pierre Gasly did a fantastic job, secured 3rd place. and really deserved that in the sprint. He did a fantastic job. Dedicated it to, of course, his friend Antoine, who sadly passed away several years ago, and of course Delano as well, who lost his life in the Formula Regional Alpine Series just a couple of weeks previous. So it was nice to see that tribute paid to those drivers after a cracking result, but in the race just didn't quite scrape a top 10 finish. So I'm going to award him 7 points as well, a solid 7 to him. And it's like the 7 wall, isn't it? But yeah, the yin and the yang of the race weekend means that some drivers did exceptionally well and then badly, or badly then exceptionally well, and it's just all kind of mitigated itself overall. So yeah, solid 7 to Pierre Gasly this weekend. A top job in that sprint race, but where it mattered in the main race, where more points were on offer, just didn't quite deliver. A solid 7 to Pierre Gasly. Finishing in 12th place, we come to Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo, and here he is, 12th place. Were they out in Q1? I can't remember. Do you know what? The Alfa Romeos are just anonymous at the moment, aren't they? It must be said. But I don't think anyone's done really badly. You know, he's done okay to finish 12th. His teammates behind him in 13th. I think they've done fine. But again, it's nothing special, is it? So for Valtteri Bottas, it's 6.5 this weekend. Didn't seem to do anything wrong. Didn't actually see anything of him. He's outside the points by a couple of places, but I think that's respectable. He's finished at a good amount of cars. And yeah, 6.5 to Bottas. And as mentioned already, finishing behind his teammate, it is Zhou Guanyu in the other Alfa Romeo. And again, I think they were eliminated in Q1, the pair of them, without much pace, without much well, I don't know. I can't even remember, to be honest. I just get the qualifyings mixed up, but I'm sure they did dismal in both. And then here they are in this main race itself. Just like I said, just a few places away from a points finish. And yeah, it's okay. But again, very anonymous. So again, 6.5 to Zhou as well. Same as his teammate. And yeah, that's that. Finishing in 14th place, we come to Alex Albon. What a shame to not see him pick up any points at all this weekend. I was expecting some in the sprint at least, but it just didn't happen, did it? Did not happen. Did well to finish 12th in that one though, and then in this main race he was battling with Pierre Gasly for so long, over 10th and 11th place, wasn't he? He was fighting so hard to keep hold of those points, but it just didn't quite happen, and he tumbled down the end. The tyre degradation, these tyres had cried enough. And overall this weekend, it's been a good weekend, hasn't it? But I was so disappointed not to see the Williams in the points. I was tipping potentially for a double points finish for Williams in the sprint or in the overall race weekend. I was expecting both teams, both drivers anyway, to at least pick up a point in either the sprint or the race or both. And it really hasn't happened, has it? So left way I got my face once again. I'm wrong once again, Josh. Why do you shout in this cupboard like you know what you know about Formula 1? You know nothing. Yeah, Alex Albon this weekend. Again, it's a solid 7. There's not going to be many changes or climbers or fallers this weekend, is it? I'm just scoring everyone 7s. But again, a solid weekend. Did what he could with the car he had. Just a few places away from points. Some of it's strategy, some of it's tyre degradation, and this weekend overall it's been good. It was nice to see him fight with Gasly for as long as he did, but in the end I can't do anything else. It's a solid 7 to Alex Albon. Then we come to Kevin Magnussen in the first of the Haasers. Well down here in 15th place. Again, I don't really know what to do with these Haasers at the minute. And Magnussen this weekend, at least he sort of out-qualified his teammate, but then his teammate had a load of bad luck in qualifying efforts, both of them actually. And then in the main race itself, you know, he finished ahead of Hulkenberg. I don't know, to be honest. It was just a tough one, wasn't it? I've given Kevin Magnussen a 6. A solid 6 there for K-Mag. Nothing special this weekend. Should have been a few places ahead. I think you know, Haas, yeah, it's just so hard to keep up with them because obviously they don't get the telly time. You've got to keep looking at the board, see when they're pitting, see what's happening, and we know Haas have got terrible tyre degradation anyway. Some cars were suffering from it as well, more than others. And we definitely know that if someone was suffering more, it was Haas. 15th place. A solid 6. I don't want to criticise his weekend whatsoever because I didn't see him do anything wrong all weekend. But at the same time, it's 15th place, isn't it? So yeah, a solid 6 to K-Mag. Finishing 16th place, we come to Daniel Ricciardo in the AlphaTauri. His weekend came solely undone when he had his Q1 lap time deleted, for track limits, and he knew he'd made the error, but the lap time he did do would have been good enough for Q2, and we could have seen an entirely different weekend, but as it was, he made that one mistake, and it cost him dearly. Started the sprint qualifying quite well, though, didn't he, and out-qualified Tsunoda in that sense, but when it mattered in the main race, Tsunoda just ran rings around him. You know, Ricciardo made no progress whatsoever. 19th, finishes the race in 16th. 2 cars retired that were ahead of him. That means he gained 1 place, effectively, all race. And Tsunoda was making right moves and charges up the field as well. So I'm going to score Daniel Ricciardo 3 points. 3 points, and that is the only sympathy he's going to get from me. I've given him a couple of races to warm up. Everyone was singing his praises and screaming about him, practically jizzing themselves that he beat Tsunoda in Hungary. Well, he firmly got beaten by Tsunoda this weekend, I'm afraid to say. And 3 points. And he's lucky. Anything more, and it'll just have to be Latifi's from now on. But yeah, not impressed with Daniel Ricciardo. Wasn't overly impressed with him at Hungary. And here he is, down at the back. 3 points to Daniel Ricciardo. Finishing in 17th place, we come to Logan Sergeant.
Hey, red flag in the race for a one-lap shootout was my idea first, FIA. What a bunch of copying hosers.
There we have it, I'm afraid. Has to be Latifi of the week to Logan Sergeant. What a dismal weekend by him this weekend once again. And, you know, a rookie is a rookie, but you've got to see where Piastri's doing and what he's doing this weekend and what he did manage to achieve. You know, you've got to look at that and think, well, Logan's not really doing that great, is he? Yeah, the Williams car wasn't living up to the expectations we'd hoped of Spa, where we always expected points finishers, myself certainly included, but even if that car was a point-scoring car this weekend, Logan Sergeant would have been getting any of them, would he? He had that silly accident in free practice 1 where he aquaplaned, and yeah, you know, aquaplaning's aquaplaning, but he just kept his foot on the brake. Like, get off the brakes! Get off the brakes! Get off the brakes! Get off the brakes! No, just kept his foot straight on the brake and just went straight into the barrier. You're never going to gain traction back if your wheels are locked up, so yeah, that was just a silly incident. That I think he could have got out of it had he let go of the brake pedal and just tried to turn and get a bit of traction back. And then in the race itself, just spent it all at the back, didn't he? You know, nothing happening, just nothing. So, yeah, unfortunately, it has to be a Latifi of the week to Logan Sergeant this race. Just very, very poor. And shame to say, but, you know, I had higher hopes for Williams than this. But like I said, I think Sergeant would have been struggling even if the car was better. So, yeah, Latifi of the week to Logan Sergeant. Then we come to the last of the finishers. The last runner in this race, of course, was Nico Hülkenberg. What a shame. What a shame for Nico this weekend. The main qualifying itself, he had an hydraulics issue, so couldn't get a final lap in that Q1 run. Because of obviously the hydraulics issue. They tried to send him out, he could only manage an outlap, he ran out of time, he was just at the bus stop chicane as the checkered flag fell, so they just fell a little bit short there. Lined up in 20th and last place, of course. And then in the sprint qualifying, they mistimed him and sent him out too late and missed the clock with 2 seconds left to go. So he crossed the line and the checkered flag was already waving, so he set no time at all in the sprint qualifying session either. So that meant both races starting at the back, and what can you do from the back in a Haas that's got terrible tyre degradation? You can't do a lot, can you? Elective, I think he had 3 pit stops in the race as well, maybe even 4. It just didn't go Hülkenberg's way this weekend, did it? And, you know, K-Mag's only there a couple of places ahead of him and had a little bit of a better qualifying, but nothing special. So, yeah, Nico Hülkenberg this weekend, a huge shame. I can't really do much in terms of scoring him a great score. It wasn't a great weekend, but it wasn't all his fault, was it? So I'm scoring him 5.5, and that's as good as it's going to get, I'm afraid. I do feel really sorry for him that he couldn't get the lap times in the qualifying sessions, because as we know, he's been absolutely mighty in the previous qualifyings. If he's not inside the top 10, he's 11th. You know, he's doing a good job there with Haas. this weekend. Wasn't his fault with the hydraulics issue, wasn't his fault that they mistimed him to get to the line last and ended up crossing the line when the checkered flag had already fallen. So we could have seen more from him this weekend, but as it was, once he's at the back in the Haas, he's never going to make any progress. A huge shame. 5.5 to Nico Hülkenberg. First of the retirements on this list, of course, the last that happened in the race, it is Carlos Sainz. Smooth operator. Smooth. Well, he weren't really that smooth, was he? Shame that contact happened at the start of the race, to be honest. Yeah, it just ruined it, didn't it? The floor damage, the side pod damage. They kept trundling around. He obviously tumbled down to the back of the grid with that damage anyway, and then eventually just retired. They tried hanging on to see if the rain had come, to see if it could try and get him back into the race with the craziness of it all. But the rain never fell heavy enough for Carlos Sainz to take any advantage of it, so they elected to retire the car and save the engine for another day, which is more than understandable. So yeah, list of retirements anyway. I'm going to award him 3 points this weekend overall. I think 3 points is a good score for Carlos based on the fact that his teammate was out racing him and was outshining him this weekend, it must be said. And the incident itself was just a racing incident, wasn't it? I wouldn't put any blame on Carlos. I wouldn't put any blame on Oscar. It was unfortunate that these two drivers that have had up and down seasons ended up coming together and making sure that they both had a downer. Yeah. Huge shame, but 3 points anyway to Carlos Sainz. And then the final runner, of course, was Oscar Piastri. Well, I say runner. He was out on lap 1, wasn't he? What a shame. He tried to trundle back to the pits, but he had broken suspension and retired and caused the first virtual safety car. It was just a shame, wasn't it? I mean, you know, after such a stunning effort in that sprint format where he'd done really, really well, he got himself into the lead of that briefly with the strategy of coming on for the intermediate tyres instead of the extreme wets. Max got past him, but then he held his own to finish second place ahead of Pierre Gasly in a stunning, stunning drive. In the main race itself, of course, qualified in a decent, respectable position, tried to go up the inside of Sainz. Sainz's door was always going to close there. Oscar was trying to get out of it though, wasn't it? It was just a frustrating incident, like... You know, Sainz had no option but to come down because Hamilton was round his outside, and Oscar had stuck his nose in and he's like, oh no, this gap's closed now, best get out, but just couldn't get out in time. They touched Oscar at the inside wall as well as Carlos, broke his suspension, and that was it, game over. Massive, massive shame. So yeah, for Oscar Piastri, I have the maximum of 5 I can score a retirement. I'm going to give him 4. You know, I have to put some sort of blame to him for the incident that happened. But yeah, a huge, huge shame that I can't score him more because of the sprint format, because he did exceptionally well there. But I do have to knock a point off because it was such a silly incident to happen at the start of a race. But yeah, overall this weekend, Oscar once again showing that he has got the potential. Just an unfortunate racing incident at the start of a race. It was always going to tighten up there. It was just a shame it was Oscar, wasn't it? So yeah, a solid 4 to Oscar Piastri. So there we then, guys, those were the runners and riders of the Belgian Grand Prix. Let me know your thoughts and feedback down below. Did I score any drivers too high, any too low? The updated scoreboard with the points I've just awarded are on the screen now for you to take a look at. See where your favourite driver has gone to. Have they gone up? Have they gone down? A huge, huge thanks as always goes out to Dan Bartlett, formerly of Mushy Gaming, as I've already mentioned at the start of the video, for providing me with the scoreboards that you see on your screen, for the intros, for the outros. He's an absolute legend, and without him this series will be ridiculously shite. Who can forget, of course, Mr. Dave, F1 Games PlayStation, for providing me with the Latifi of the Week skits. And of course, Dominic Orlando, the voice of Nicholas Latifi. Thanks to all 3 of you guys. You're absolute legends. I love you all. And it's great that we can make this series as fun as it is. And yeah, it's as fun as it is, and it's exciting as well. Like I really do genuinely love it now. I've sort of gone away from the fact that F1's shite, and I've accepted that. But it's the fun and interaction I get with you guys afterwards that really make it enjoyable. And without the likes of Dave, Dan and Dom on board, all the Ds, the 3 Ds, I've only just noticed that. But without those guys, you know, this series wouldn't be able to be as good as it is. So yeah, thank you all so much for your efforts and continued support. And thanks to you guys, as always, for watching. So I'll see you all in a few weeks' time for the Italian Grand Prix. We're at the summer break now, aren't we? So I will do a video about what my plans are for next season in changing the format up a bit. Might make it a little bit more interesting for you guys as well. Might keep it fresh for me as well, you know, doing the same thing week in, week out for the Formula 1 races. It does get a little bit monotonous, especially when I've been doing the Formula E one this year, and that's not, you know, it's the same format basically. So I might want to mix up this series just a little bit, and the fact that other YouTubers have started to make a similar series to this, and like, we're not going to go there, but you know, people can score whatever they want out or whatever. It doesn't bother me, but I just think there's too much of this on the YouTube now, so I might mix this format up a little bit to keep it fresh and to make it not look like I've copied someone else, even though I started this series 8 years ago or whatever it was. When was it? 2017? 6 years ago. Either way, you know, I'm waffling, but yeah, I'll do a video during the summer break about what I'm thinking about to try and mix this format up a bit. Keep it exciting for you guys, keep it exciting for me as well. But anyway, with that being said, I'll see you all in a few weeks' time for Italy. Just one cornetto, give it to me. And yeah, I'll see you all then. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, much love.